think this is recorded. Okay. Hopefully this is getting recorded. Okay. Yeah. So today I will take a class on new media. Uh, as you have already written article. So what I was thinking is to create a blog and post all the articles in that blog. And in new media, blog is also one CMS, content management system. This is a part of your syllabus. You also need to know how to create blog. And in online session, it is a bit difficult to make you understand how to create blog. And most of you might have a blog. You might be running a blog. You know how to create a blog. There are different platforms now available through which you can create blog. Right? You have Bumbler.com, then Blogger.com. Earlier we had Blogspot.com, Wix.com, through which you can create blog. So if you go and visit any site, even through Google also you can create a blog. So what you can do, whatever articles are being submitted by you so far, can be put in a blog. You can create a blog, and this will be a collective blog. This is not an individual blog, although blog is always different from wiki. Wiki is a different technology when you see, but a blog is not a collective technology, but we can also make it collective. We can make multiple entry at the same time, and we can also make multiple authorship. So this authorship is open to all. So that you can do. So if you can go to bloggers.com, so you simply go bloggers.com. You can also click there in bloggers.com. Right now, if I would have to show you, because I can show you in Google also. You Google it out. You write bloggers.com, and then you can create a blog, give a name, and you can give a URL. So this URL will be there, and then you can save the information. Don't give all the information, because it is also suggested that whenever you create any blog, personal information should not be revealed that way. So simply you give your name and some details you give, and don't give the birth detail and all, birthday and all, and you can create that blog, and accordingly you can also post the content. Okay, so any one of you can take the initiative to create that blog, and you can also post some content. You can show me. It is difficult in an online live class to show how to create a blog, and it is easier, I'm telling you, because there are different platforms available. If you try, you can take some help of even Google, how to create a blog. You can get a whole manual how to create a blog. So simply you go to bloggers.com. In bloggers.com it is quite easier. Okay, and now if I go to bloggers.com, because of the browser, only my blog will appear, because I have created a blog long ago, or else I can put all your content in the blog which I have created long ago. So you yourself try to create blog. Blog is a kind of weighted conversation, as it is it is mentioned by Wesley Wangler. Wesley Wangler has also mentioned blog as a weighted conversation, right? So it will give a kind of conversational tone to whatever you have been writing so far. So it will also create a connection between all of you. And at the same time, it is a kind of personal publishing. So I'll also tell you the difference between blog and other technologies. And I have, in one class, I remember that was on Web 2.0. Perhaps I have shared some of the recording videos, lecture videos on Web 2.0, where I have mentioned about blog and wiki. These are the two technologies which are quite important, new media technology, which will help you to develop individual authorship and collective authorship. So blog and wiki are different in its execution, because in blog you get to see a single individual or personal authorship, and in wiki you get to see that collaborative authorship has taken over the individual authorship. So wiki way is completely different than blog way. So we have a different kind of social norms and etiquette which come along with wiki. In contrast to which contrast to which blog is very personal. When we say blog, it's very highly personal. It's a kind of diary of your own, but we can also make it collaborative. If two of you take the initiative to contribute and also post the content and make the content free to edit, then it is also it will become a kind of collaborative platform to edit. So see, in new media, let me tell you, it is quite important also to have some writing skill. So we have that online journalism and e-journalism. E-journalism is basically electronic journalism, what I say. So when you take help of computer and electronic device to gather information, to report information, collect, then analyze and disseminate information. So that is what is e-journalism basically. So the practice is similar. So this practice is actually revolves around this individual and individuality. Let me tell you. But the thing is that this electronic journalism or e-journalism is not that institutional. So you might also confuse electronic journalism from citizen journalism, you know. So citizen journalism is something which is quite uh, like prominent nowadays, and yeah, and we often tend to relate it with mobile journalism. So citizen journalism is something which is mobile journalism because of the technology which it uses. You know, so it basically journalist uses the mobile technology. They are equipped with mobile technology, cell phone, and some web-based gadgets. Make use of those gadgets and make use of those apps, and then collect information from the field and on spot, and then they publish the content online. So you see, citizen journalism is a very new concept in that way, and it is not that distinct from the traditional journalism, the concept of traditional journalism. So when you say this traditional journalism, we do have a organized setup, like that organized setup and institutional setup. So when you talk about this traditional journalism, it revolves around that institutions, and it revolves around the set of individuals and their individuality, with some regulating norms and practices which will create a kind of constraint and restrictions on the individuals and individuality within that institutions, and at the same time that will also define the governing principle of the institutions. So when you are talking about this traditional media is basically publicly funded, and most of the time some traditional media, which now we talk about privatizations, liberalization. So we talk about privately funded media houses and public funded media houses. When journalists are trained, journalists are skilled enough to behave in certain way. So here in traditional journalism, what you get to see is a kind of, you see, behavior, no, imposed behavior. Right, imposed behavior. You were supposed to assume certain behavior to work in certain way, right? To work in certain way and to follow certain norms. And these norms are very important in traditional journalism. So you need to conform yourself to a uh, to a particular media house style. So in each and every media house there is some style of production. So you need to conform yourself to that production style. But here in citizen journalism, or you say e-journalism, e-journalism is a bigger concept than citizen journalism, because when you say e-journalism, is electronic journalism. It is also kind of, you say, traditional journalism, use of this ICT, you say, information and communication technology, to report and to create news and disseminate news. So it is a bigger concept than citizen journalism, and citizen journalism is something which is much relatable to participatory journalism, Not necessarily electronic journalism is participatory journalism. So that is the biggest difference between citizen journalism and participatory journalism. Electronic journalism. But when you say e-journalism, you say e-journalism or web-based journalism. Web-based journalism is journalism which uses the www, World Wide Web, and use web as a platform to disseminate the news. That's what we understand as a web journalism, web form of journalism, right? And this is citizen journalism. This is basically a participatory journalism. And when you say citizen journalism, the moment when you say of creation trace back to 1990s, So there was a newspaper called Ledger Enquirer that actually first came into being in 1988, and that newspaper has made a coverage of the crisis between the government and the civil society. And that newspaper also organized some public meeting, and organized a public meeting and invited local leaders and also general public, where they discuss the day-to-day issues and everyday issues of the public, and also future of the city, and how to find solution for the problem that actually concern the day-to-day life of the citizens. And then whatever resolution came up from the meeting is being published by Ledger Enquirer, published by that newspaper. And that was the first, first initiative of citizen journalism in 1988, and after that, you actually see we also have a boost. That citizen journalism itself got a boost because of www, World Wide Web, and also with the development of blog and wiki. So blog is also one kind of, a device which has boosted that citizen journalism and grassroots journalism movement. Wiki technology has also promoted or enhanced that grassroots journalism movement. And why we call citizen journalism as a grassroots journalism movement, or we call it an alternative space which they have already created for us. Why we call it so? Because of its ability to create a counter-hegemonic sphere or counter-hegemonic space where you could actually hear the voice of the subaltern. So, the subaltern perspective is also there in sociology. So, where we get to hear the voice of the minority and marginalized, those who are marginalized by ethnicity, those who are marginalized based on the gender, those who are marginalized based on religion. So, you can actually hear the voice of the marginalized community in the citizen journalism, and a platform which has been created by that citizen journalism. Hence, it is a kind of alternative form of journalism, alternative form of journalism through which it helps to empower the citizens, empower the community. So, one distinction is there between citizen journalism and the citizen journalism and the community. And that is, the sense of community building. So, in citizen journalism, you get to see that communitarian sense of ownership of the media and communitarian sense of operation of this media. So community ownership of media, community ownership of the stories, community ownership of the platform, media platform. At the same time, you also see the competition to this elitist form of media as some of the main basic tenets of citizen journalism. So if you look at this citizen journalism, some of the characteristics of citizen journalism is that it is a kind of, it is a grassroots movement. You may say firstly that it is a grassroots movement which will give an alternative voice to those people who are marginalized. So it has created an alternative space to the people who are already marginalized. At the same time, it has also promoted the community ownership of the story. It has promoted this community ownership of media and community operation of this media. At the same time, it has also created a challenge and competition to the elitist media process, elitist media system and elitist media process. So here, when you are talking about these very tenets of citizen journalism, then it requires you to distinguish citizen journalism from, you see, traditional mainstream journalism. So it is quite important here in this very class. What I'm going to discuss is that how will you distinguish between the journalism and the blog? You have come up with articles, right? You have written some articles. I have also provided you some comments, and I want you to create a blog. And creation of blog is not that difficult at all. So in online class, it might be difficult for me to teach you how to create a blog, but there are some manuals through which you can create a blog. Bloggers.com, go to bloggers.com, all of you. And there you simply find one keyword, create a blog. Then you click there, and in your left side you will see they'll ask you to put name and put URL. So you can create your own URL. Sometimes URL will be generated, only the name you need to write. So URL will be automatically generated, and then you can create a blog. So blog originated in 1997, It originated in 1997, and the person whose name was associated with blog, who coined the blog, web blog concept, was Jan Barger. So he was the one who coined the term blog, and blog is also a weighted conversation. So it has created that conversation. It is a part of Web 2.0 tool, just because it harps on the principle of interactivity. So it is based on the principle of interactivity and participation. So when we are talking about citizen journalism, blog is one form of citizen journalism. There are different types of citizen journalism. Like we have thin media is one type of citizen journalism. Thin media is like you have that mailing list, personal mailing list are there. Or newsletter. These are also kind of citizen journalism. You have a personal broadcasting site, that may be a video blog or any kind of web streaming, or you say podcast. That may be another kind of citizen journalism. So you have got a variety of citizen journalism. A personal broadcasting site may be one, thin media, email, that newsletter is one. Then you have, you have full-fledged participatory kind of citizen journalism, like Oh My News is there. That is Oh My News is based in Korea. That was founded in 2000. So it was actually run by more than 50,000 volunteers. 50,000 volunteers from across 100 countries, and so all those volunteers are termed as citizen journalism, full-fledged participatory kind of journalism, and very independent journalism. And then we also have you say semi-independent journalist. So where journalists work along with mainstream journalists, so in terms of getting the story ideas and in terms of adding the comment, so their role is somehow reduced to adding comment or give a different addition to the already existing stories. Okay, so they do have a relation with this mainstream journalism. So independent citizen journalists are those who do not have any relation with mainstream journalism, but are running independently. But independently, they are running any kind of, you see, news house or any citizen media outlet. So you have a variety of citizen uh, journalism or journalist outlet. At the same time, you also have a collaborative kind of outlet that is run by wiki. So when you say wiki is different from blog, and previously also I have told you that wiki is completely different from blog. Right, so wiki is derived from this Hawaiian word that is called wiki wiki. Wiki wiki means quick, you know. So it is different in a sense that it is collaborative. So it is collaborative in authorship, and it has some features and which define some distinct norm. So wiki also has some social norms, you know. So we cannot simply say that new media like citizen journalism is a kind of new media, right? So citizen journalism is devoid of social norms because wiki technology has some social norms, and the social norm is based on altruism. This altruism, in the sense that there is little individual ownership of content, there is a group ownership of content, and most of the time people contribute without even thinking about any incentive and reward. They contribute by their own like choice, or driven by that altruism that somebody will benefit from the content which they have submitted or which they have written in that site. So that is the social norm which has driven the wiki technology, you see. So wiki is also a kind of citizen journalism platform. So wiki technology is used by Wikimedia Foundations. We have Wiki News that came in 2000. Wiki News came in 2004, I guess, or 2002, that you need to verify. So you see that we have Wikimedia Foundation. Wiki News is a kind of citizen journalism site. We also have Al Jazeera, which is a mainstream news website, right? Al Jazeera has also a citizen journalist site. You have Sarek portal. If you go through the Sarek portal is there. So you can visit that Sarek portal. You get to see how readers have been contributing to it. And then CNN, CNN's this report feature is also kind of citizen journalism. So, and we also have CNN IBN, that's cz.ibn live. That is also another kind of venture. Then C Plus is one. We have marynews.com in India that came in 2006, and it has received many accolades also, and it worked on range of issues and range of topics. It has been, like, you know, providing varieties of writings. And then we also have that Muktapit. Muktapit is founded in 2006 by Sakal newspaper. It is a kind of weekly supplementary. Muktapit is basically weekly supplementary, comes along with the newspaper, Sakal newspaper. It's a Marathi one, but that supplementary was fed by readers comment, so that was run by the readers. So readers' opinions are being published in that supplement. So you see, there are different way mainstream news organizations have also promoted citizen journalism, and citizen journalism has its also got own, you say, it has its own intent, it has its own purpose, and it has its own entity. Okay. Then you see in Assam we have East Mojo. You see that is a kind of citizen journalism. Mojo basically, that is a mobile journalism, and we also have that Assam Times org, that is another organization that came in citizen journalism site basically, not organization, because most of the time we cannot say that citizen journalism has an organization, and that's how it is different from traditional journalism. Right, but you see that AssamTimes.org that came in 2007, I guess, and Bubul Gogoi was the editor, and there are a fleet of journalists, more than 200 or 300 journalists who have their iCard also, who were granted to have iCard. They were all citizen journalists. So you might also ask me the question whether they're trained or not. They're trained, they're skilled. It's not like that the citizen journalists are not trained and skilled. They are also trained. And there are apprentice period for 1 or 2 months where they are being trained how to report, where to go, and how to write. They are being trained. But you see, in mainstream journalism, we have that hierarchy, and we have a process of certifications. In terms of work, we have a process of certifications. Journalists are trained in a particular way to report, and journalists are trained to follow a procedure. You actually see the mainstream news organization as it is operated on collective basis. So it is basically a collective undertaking. Mainstream news organization is a collective undertaking, as we have that editor, we have that desk management, we have sub-editors, we have directors, anchors, producers, advertisers. So everybody has their own set of duties. So there is an extreme sense of specializations, right? So that is the unique feature of mainstream journalism. So everybody do their own set of work, like desk management will, people who are into the desk management will definitely try to find out whether the desk has been smoothly managed or not, and who are into sub editing will try to find out if there is any error in the content, will fine tune the content, policies the content which is being published or before publishing, and also provide safeguard to the journalist from any defamations or any kind of liabilities. And editors will also look after this workload of the journalist and decide the scheduling of this participation, scheduling of the publications, and also try to create that balance between advertising and editorial content. So everybody has own a set of work. So that specialization we get to see in mainstream news website is not website. Mainstream media house is not seen in citizen journalism. And accordingly, when you say work is also one criteria that will distinguish citizen journalism from, you say, mainstream journalism, because in mainstream journalism, you see, most of the journalists turn out from the school, now it is easier to get into any kind of media house based on contact. So in that way, you cannot even say that it is required for a journalist to become a journalist, to get a degree or get a certificate. But definitely, journalists are supposed to be registered uh, with a body, and they are also a part of trade union. So trade union by which they can bargain their terms and conditions. But in citizen journalism, that doesn't happen, as they are not a member of any trade union through which they can bargain any term and conditions, as they don't work in that organized setup. So they are not succumb to any kind of rules and regulations which can restrain them. And you see, all has happened because of the internet, and internet has a destabilizing effect, So let me tell you that it has got a destabilizing effect, and it has also created many ills at the same time. But let me tell you, citizen journalism is not an ill. It is something which has created an alternative like space for the minorities, alternative space for those who cannot even access the media, right? Who do not have the capacity to afford the media. So there are different kind of ventures. You might have heard about Season Echwara. How many of you heard about Season Echwara? Season Echwara. Have you heard about Season Echwara? Luna? No? Anybody of you have heard about Season Echwara? Okay, it is actually founded by Subhranshu Sautri in Chhattisgarh, and this is basically meant for those forest dwellers in Chhattisgarh. And those forest dwellers, they report their stories via uh, via phone call. They make a phone call, and phone call is being recorded. So in their own language, the language they speak is Gondi language. So in their own language, they report this story, and the story is being recorded. And anybody want to listen to the story can also give a phone call, and they can listen to the story in an IVR format. So there is an interactive voice response system through which you can listen to the story. So every day you see 2-3 stories usually come from those community members. Now that community is illiterate, right? Like rural community, grassroots community, marginalized community, they have their own set of grievances, and you see that citizen journalism outlet has actually helped to bring those voices out, and there are problems related to MC and REGA scheme. There are scams and scandals in that MG and REGA schemes, and that is also being exposed by the villagers. So it is easier for them also to use mobile phone. They're illiterate, they cannot write, and hence they can report through you say through phone call. They can report, they can record their voice, and that's how they can report. So this is a kind of venture of citizen journalism. So it is founded in 2010, CJ Nechwara. It was founder was Subhranshu Chaudhary. It is based in Chhattisgarh, that is one. And Muktapit is one, as I have already told you. My Own is another venture that is based in Bihar. So it is also attempted, and My Own has aimed at, empowering the women, marginalized women. And at the same time, it has also exposed some cases of corruption and government inactivity in that locality. So in that way, you see that citizen journalism at the same time, it has created a counter-hegemonic approach. So it has already challenged the hegemonic role of gatekeepers. So you actually see that we have editors in that traditional media setup, but citizen journalism has challenged that hegemonic role of gatekeepers, and it has also created its own set of rules. So as for example, this wiki, when you are talking about wiki is a technology which is based on like simple marked up language. So it has got certain features which will make it distinct from other type of technology. And which will make it much more participatory. And those features are like the collective authorship of the participants. At the same time, a simple use of markup language. So you don't need to be that much trained in technology. So all you need to have is an attitude towards a technology, and so you said that you have an attitude, in the sense positive attitude towards a technology. By using the simple markup language, you can develop a very you can develop a story. So wiki is actually run by convention. So wiki is not something which is enforced by a technology. So technology cannot be a hindrance to you while creating a wiki. And at the same time, you also see that it is a kind of cumulative increment of knowledge. So it is called cumulative increment of knowledge. Why does it call cumulative increment of knowledge? Just because you see that today you write two sentences via wiki technology, and tomorrow it could be a one page or 2 pages long article. So other author will come and edit it or extend your article. It doesn't mean that you will lose your credibility. So your name and others' name will not be highlighted anyhow. So it is run on that social norm of altruism. So everybody will contribute so that others will benefit. So whatever little knowledge you have, so you will contribute with that little knowledge, and it will also gradually increment that knowledge. So there is a cumulative increment the knowledge. So that will come with that wiki technology. Okay, at the same time, we also see that it has got that version management. You see, version management is something that you can revert back to the pages which are being already edited. So you can actually see when you have when your page is edited last, who visited that. Not who in the sense when it was visited, when that page was edited. So you have a history page, so that advantage is there, that you have a history page that has created a kind of a history. So you can roll back to the past also. So you can see the changes, you can compare two posts. So that is one advantage with this wiki technology. And you see, if you look at the history of wiki technology, the precursor of Wikipedia is Nupedia. Nupedia is run by PhD scholars, and Nupedia was not that successful. Within a period of 3 years, it was started in 2000, and it ran till 2003. So within this period, from 2000 to 2003, Nupedia could produce only 24 articles. Okay, and then Jimmy Wallace is the person, and along with Larry Sanger, created Wikipedia, and they found that within a span of 12 months, means within a year, Wikipedia has created more than 12,000 articles. So Nupedia, which was peer-reviewed, so it was run by those PhD scholars, so it was peer-reviewed, so it could not generate that much of popularity, it could not generate that many articles also, but Wikipedia was not peer-reviewed, so in that way it generated that popularity, it attracts more and more readers, and it has created the traffic. So within a year time, or within a span of 12 months, it could create 12,000 articles. So that was the difference they could find, and that's how we could relate to the crowdsourcing. It's not the benefit, the trend of crowdsourcing. But at the same time, so we have to be very careful about this credibility and authenticity. Uh, so, uh, so when we talk about this citizen journalism, also this blog and wiki will come. It has already boosted the citizen journalism, boosted the platform of citizen journalism, and it is also quite important to understand the difference between citizen journalism and mainstream journalism and traditional journalism, because traditional journalism is something which has an establishment, which has a history, as we see that you can trace back to Gutenberg period 1450 in order to find the history of traditional journalism. So we have a history, we have a definite timeline. Like 1450, we have the Gutenberg press. Gradually, that press has evolved, and it has also passed through different phases of struggle, and it has also acquainted with new technologies, and it has developed different orientations, different styles, and that's how we have, like, arrived in today's era. So there is an establishment in traditional journalism, but herein you see the citizen journalism doesn't have that form of establishment. But yeah, we have a history, and history could be traced back um, uh, in 1990, and you see this by 1988 we have that ledger and querer. Perhaps that has created uh, the first, you say, first venture of citizen journalism. That's how we can distinguish it. And second is that collectivism. Collectivism, in the sense, as we see that I have already told you, you get to find a collective undertaking in mainstream media. In citizen journalism, you cannot get to see that collective undertaking. But often you can also question that wiki technology. Wiki technology has that collective authorship. We get to see that collective authorship. So, how can we not relate citizen journalism with collectivism? But the collectivism I mentioned is completely different here. So, in mainstream news website, we have that collectivism in terms of, you say, operation of the newsroom process, how newsroom process is being carried out, how publication is being carried out, the entire process, right from, like, specialization of duties among the different staff. And then you have that, see, separate set of duties distributed in the desk, in the editors, in the even, you see, in among the reporters. So it becomes a collective and organized whole, and makes it an organized whole. But here in citizen journalism, at times we do not see that collectivism. But in wiki also we have a division of labor. You see, there are people who create the content, there are also people who integrate the content, and there are people who actually cross-check the content. So you can find little difference in terms of collectivism. So collectivism not necessarily a sole defining criteria to distinguish between, you see, citizen journalism and mainstream journalism. Then you have status. When you're talking about the status, status is something um, which is related to this recognition and legitimacy. You know, so traditional and mainstream journalism has that status that derive from the public, and they work for the public interest. Now we see it is very difficult to define public interest. What is public interest? You see, what is public interest? So we cannot define public interest that easily. So when you say public interest is something that caters to the interest of the public. But at the same time, public interest is also something which has reduced to the self-service of the newspaper or media industry. And that is the main problem when public interest has reduced to the self-service. And hence, when we're talking about the status, a mainstream news media house or a mainstream journalism has acquired from the public, and that legitimacy and recognition they have acquired because it has an established institution, it has an established setup, it has an established organization. But that is not the case in terms of citizen journalism. So most of the time public won't recognize, but that recognition that we actually see, that crave for recognition has also changed, because at times citizen journalists don't crave for recognitions. So they simply go and report. So they know their role well, and somehow they also know that they can complement the mainstream journalism, and complement the mainstream journalist, and they work with mainstream journalist, and accordingly we see that they have already carved out their own identity, you know. And then when you're talking about values is also one area. Values that distinguish citizen journalism from mainstream journalism, right? When you're talking about values represents values represent the set of ethics, it represents the set of code, you know, and code of conduct which are provided by the Press Council of India. So that is the values, and that is the value. And also you see there are certain values that journalists need to embrace, like discipline or verification, values related to, you see the objectivity. Now objectivity is also value of journalism. Now that is questionable whether objectivity is a value of journalism or not. So in mainstream journalism, journalists embrace these values of impartiality, discipline of verification, objectivity. They cross-check the data again and again so that they become unsure themselves, or they assure themselves that they have covered both sides of the story. And also they follow some ethical guidelines, which is not the case with citizen journalists, you know. When you're talking about objectivity now let me tell you that objectivity is something which is a value, but nobody can be that objective while reporting. In terms of conflict reporting, most of you have already come up with conflict reporting. You cannot be objective. You have your own bias. Apart from the bias that come from this environment, you have bias from your experience, you have bias that derive from this community. So you cannot free from that biases. So you cannot even say that journalists can be very objective while reporting. But we see that we have a hard news only question catered to the 5 Ws and 1 H. So reporting the hard news or writing a hard news story, you can be objective. So when you're talking about the values like objectivity has also, you see, objectivity has some separate historical moment, you know, historical moment, like we can relate objectivity in the philosophical perspective, relate objectivity to the philosophical perspective. So we see that if you talk about philosophical underpinning of objectivity, so we need to date back to Reformation and Enlightenment era, when there is a positivist attitude among the researchers and journalists. Attitude gained ground among the researcher and journalist. They try to seek the truth of any event. So that is related to objectivity. And then objectivity is coincided with technological phase. That is the second phase. In technological phase, objectivities coincided with the invention of camera, because camera is something which will provide you all the information. So camera, like, that rolling, and that will objectively report whatever comes in front of it. So that is also related to one moment of objectivity. Then third moment of objectivity comes in liberalization period, when this liberalization has been started. More and more commercial enterprises came to the floor, and there is also deregularization that has been promoted by government, and accordingly we get to see a lot of private financiers have also financed the media business, and you see that has reduced the hitherto uh, media's affiliation to party ideology. So initially, media houses were affiliated to party ideologies. You cannot even see that medias are not affiliated to any party. They are quite influenced by party ideology. So commercialization and liberalization has reduced that party affiliations, and they have less reliance, and media houses have less reliance on those political content and more reliance on entertainment fare. And they have adopted objectivity is a value to report the event, so that they can get more stories. At the same time, they can also satisfy the public intent, public interest. So you see, these are the three moments. One is the philosophical moment, which is related to objectivity, when there is a search for uh, uh, truth. There is a search for seeking for truth, and then we also have that technological moment with the invention of camera, where camera will objectively report whatever comes in front of it. And in the third moment, we actually get to see, in third moment, objectivity is relatable to the liberalization and commercialization of the media house, when media is less uh, 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 politically driven, and they become more entertainment driven, because they become more consumer oriented and entertainment driven in order to rise in business. So you see, in terms of values also, although we see that there are some distinctions between traditional journalism and citizen journalism, um, we see that somehow that distinctions have been, you see, diluted and merged. So these are some of the points. Okay, one last variable is regulation. So when you talk about the regulation means that rules, and that is also code of conduct, which are internationally accepted, in order to constrain the behavior of the journalist. So when you are talking about the regulations, dominant paradigm has said that journalists are supposed to behave in a self-regulatory way. Okay, that is the dominant paradigm. But at the same time, self-regulation is also amount to self-service. So there are also controversy, or you say that question or contradictions in the belief system, and hence whenever we discuss about all these variables, like establishment, regulations, values, you see, status, work, which distinguish citizen journalism from mainstream journalism, we say that all these variables are somehow less prominent nowadays. It has already already lessened the prominence that it got previously. Okay, so that is one thing. Apart from that, I'm going to have some questions from you. So if you have some queries, you can also ask me, because I'm the one I have been talking. If you have anything to 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 ask, to question, so you can tell me. Sorry, you have to be a bit louder, because see, there is, okay.
Can you clarify about how we have to make a blog of Kapou if we need to pick it?
Okay. So let me tell you that it is very easy to create a blog. You need to go to blogger.com. You Google out blogger.com. First, you open Google. Then you write blogger.com, blogger.com, blogger.com. And then click on blogger.com. There you find create a blog. In your left or right, you will find create a blog, and you put a name, give a name of the blog, and then you see there is a URL. So there also you can put a name, identifiable name which you can remember, and it will be easier for people also to remember. And then save it. And once you save it, you will simply found new post, creating new post. Okay, so I can show you once. Wait, bloggers.com. I'll see. So you can sign in first, create your own blog. So sign in via I already have a blog, so this might come. Why? But why it is. So there you will find title. Choose a name of your blog. So suppose any name you can create. Window. Then you send blogspot.com. You put any name. Suppose like that. A display name you put. Display name maybe. You see. So like that way, if it is visible to you, is it visible to you? Is it visible to you? No? No. Okay, I was actually doing it, so it might come in the recorded video, so I'm just showing it, okay? So,
But can you record the classes?
actually the thing is that, let me tell you that this Google suit has already like license has been expired, that Google suit we are using. So we got an information few days back that we won't be able to record the class, Then what happened? I discussed the problem with Sansal Sinha. So Sansalda has given me one that software through which I could record. Now, hopefully, this has been recording. The whatever I have been uh, discussing with you, and the software which Sonsol has given me is basically a screen recorder. So anything I'm doing on the screen will be recorded. So if I'm trying to show you how to create a blog, so definitely it must be recorded. So hopefully it has been recorded because I'm showing here how things are being, like, how you create a blog. And so I have already shown it. So there is a new page came in. So there you need to put this title.
No, actually, mobile screen recording doesn't help. Like if I record this, like I try to record the class,
Right.
whatever the visuals we see, that will get recorded, but the audio won't get recorded. So with laptop, I don't know what kind of software it is. If the audio and visuals, everything gets
Now,
recorded.
earlier too, there is no problem in terms of recording. It was not a problem to record the class at all. But now, as that license of Google Shoot has been expired, recording is a problem. So there is a screen recorder which we are availing now. So accordingly, Professor Nitya Sharma sir has also given a link through which we can record our classes, and that is basically a screen recorder. So by this screen recorder, if things are getting recorded, then it is fine. So once I close the window and finish my class, then only I will come to learn whether whatever I have discussed with you is recorded or not. So I'm telling you that you simply go to bloggers.com, as I have already created a blog here in my Windows. So it is difficult to share. I could not see the sharing option also here. Okay, so hopefully it will get recorded. You go to blogger.com and then you put a name. You log into Blogger through your email ID. Okay, email ID. So there you put a name and you also put a display name and you put a URL. So URL will automatically be created. So you simply put the name. So once that blog has been created, you got a notification that blog has been created. Okay, then you will find new post. There in new post you can create any post, you can give a title. So there is also a menu bar where you have you have compose view, HTML view, then also you have font size, you have paragraph, so you have all this bold, italics and underline text, your color, so you can do everything. And then again in your right hand side you will see a publish button, so there you can publish. You can also preview, so once you write something you can preview the post. That you can do your own. So you try this. Tomorrow when I'll take this class, I'll ask you whether you could comfortably able to create that block or not. Okay. 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 Anything else? Yeah. Luna. Luna has something to say, right? Okay. So yesterday, Vandana called me. Vandana is present today. Okay. Vandana is present today. Okay. Block option. Okay. Block option. Yeah, Luna. Can you choose a choice of ours? Yeah, you can choose your own choice. So here, see, there are different platforms. There is Wix.com, Wix.com. Wix.com is also a platform through which you can create a blog. There is a Blumber.com, through which also you can create a blog. Even Google has also provided opportunity to create a blog. Now you can create a blog through bloggers.com. It is an easier way. So your blog will be, so wait, is also called. So here this is also one story. So this is, you can, this you can check. This is a blog. So I'm okay. So I'm okay. Can you get the link? I have posted a link, MCRC on the record blogspot.com. That is a collective blog that was created by MCRC, institution MCRC Jamia Millia Islamia. So when I was a student, so we contributed in that blog, and this blog is still running. So Sumi has a question. Yeah, Sumi.
Ma'am, like I already have a blog.
Very good.
Index.com. So do I need to prepare another blog, like make another blog in blogger.com or like that?
Not necessarily. It is, see, I'm telling you, those of you who do not have a blog, you can try create a blog, okay? So those of you who have a blog, you keep on maintaining that blog. You write stories on that blog, or I thought of creating a blog where I could post all the stories, whatever you have written for Northeast Media and Northeast Paper. So stories will be posted in that blog. We also, our department has also maintained a blog nowadays. So you can have your own individual blog, you can have a collective blog also where all of you can contribute. So that password can be shareable. So like that way, so you can, you see, acquaint with that blog software. And blog is something which is personal actually. This is not collective because blog is not a wiki. But accordingly, you see, we ran a kind of collective, you say collective venture like MCRC on the record blogspot.com. That was a kind of collective endeavor by MCRC students, and it is being running by the students. It has been running. So I also contributed to this blog when I was a student. Okay, so accordingly, you can have also own blog. This is an institutional blog, MCRC on the record blogspot.com. So you can also go through the stories and post how they have recorded. So we here in our department, so earlier we have a news cafe. So every month students usually come up with a news cafe and they write article and they contribute to those articles. So some online version of news cafe is already available. I maintained that online version of that news cafe. So I can share that with you. So you can have some idea about this writing, and that is different from blog. That is not a blog at all. Okay, so this is all. So you check this out. So I will also conclude today. So tomorrow I will come and we will discuss something more about you see, about citizen journalism. Not citizen journalism, we'll discuss about peace journalism maybe, or we'll discuss some other issues related to your articles and the stories. And let me tell you what Bandana has asked me. Bandana called me that day, and few of you have included photographs. I have noticed that few of you have included photographs in the story while writing the story. Now let me tell you that when you include a photograph, be very sure that you also clear about these ethical guidelines, which is quite important for a journalist. So inclusion of photographs without taking the consent of the website might lead to the violation of copyright. Now, copyright is a very important issue in in new media, you know. So there is a case of plagiarism. There are many cases of plagiarism because it is quite easy to copy paste in new media. So it is not simply restricted to copy pasting the content, you know, copy pasting the content, but also copy pasting the images, the videos, the audios that also lead to plagiarism or violation of copyright. Now, what is this copyright? Vishal, okay. Vishal has a question? Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Ma'am, I had a question regarding this. Like, often we say or we think that this is plagiarism or this is copying from a book or from an article. But what about those information which are meant? It's like there is a book called Strangers of the Beast written by Sanjay Hazarika, and there he wrote about all the wars that we see in Assam where like a lesson on alpha included there. Then same way, Neha Gurvam Visharuti wrote a book like a god and god on Assam. Like it is a book on Assam. There also the lesson where she wrote the objective of alpha she kept the main idea of alpha was established. And the same that same paragraph exactly written the scheme of then another book which was written by Sanjay Hazarika. Sangeet Kapoor Shah actually a younger journalist and she works for the White and Sanjay Hazarika is a very dear person. And in that book even she wrote that she took guidance from Sanjay Hazarika. So what I had is there is that paragraph kept the same the idea of which alpha was established. And each and every word, each and every sentence was same there.
Oh, let me tell you. No, no. Okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you. It happens sometimes that when you make a reference of any book or you take a reference from a book, you simply name that book and the author. If Inubura has already named the author and then quote him and unquote, quote unquote him. So this is not amount to plagiarism because what Sanjay Hajarika has said uh, is is mentioned by Inubura. So this is not at all related to plagiarism because you have also mentioned the sources. So you see, copyright is something. So let me tell you, you need to understand what copyright. Copyright is something which will give you that economic incentive over your creation. So it is applicable to any kind of artwork, literary work, cinematography, even like in a film. So any kind of art and craft. So when you are talking about this copyright, so copyright will give you that economic incentive over your work, and you have that monopoly right to publish, monopoly right to republish, and to sell the content, and also to share the content at the same time. So now when we are talking about this copyright, it has been violated by these new media, advent of new media, because new media has that destabilizing effect, you know. So with that destabilizing effect, new media has already destabilized the regime of copyright. So we have a new, new movement that is called copyleft movement. Not each and every technology become the part of copyleft movement. Like we have that JNU, you know, JNU is that JNU public license is there, and Linux software, which has already created a kind of challenge to the Microsoft Windows. Now, when you're talking about this copying of sentences, like word by word, sentence by sentence, or copying the same para from one book, and if you get to see the reference, and if you have cited it, it is not amount to copyright violation or amount to plagiarism. So hence I'm telling you that every time you cite something from a book, from a website, so you need to write word by word which has been written by that author, and cite the name of the author, cite the name of that publications in the reference sections, because it is more about a kind of review. So and so has said this, and based on which you are going to have your interpretation, based on which you are going to have a conclusion. So it is not amount to copyright at all. So copyright violation at all. Now, violation of copyright will be there when you have used someone else's writing without their consent, without even citing their name, without citing their publication. So you have copied the artwork, copied the creation of someone. So without the consent, without even citing, you have used it for your own advantage, like your economic benefit, for your own reputations. So for commercial purpose, then it will amount to copyright violation. Yeah. Visal.
Okay, that means that use the should take consent from the teacher. And since she has mentioned that Sanjoyika has been planning by writing that book, so consent can be something. And it's not necessarily as something like writing
Yeah.
which is that the concept can do just like because like the man does not know she may use some of its terms as it when you.
Sorry?
Now I'm asking you that whatever you have said, that's like said can be important to like from the senior writer take it on for things some things exactly as
Yeah, you need to exactly quote him. Exactly quote him or her. There you don't need to paraphrase. Okay. So if you want to cite his comment, cite his opinion, you cite his opinion, right? So and so has written in that book in this way, or quote unquote. You simply put quote unquote. So that is not amount to copyright violations, rather it will be an addition to the knowledge creation. So you have uh, added his knowledge also to your creativity. At the same time, it also amounts to, you see, consultative authorship. Reference is basically this consultative uh, authoring of article. So you have also consulted someone. So you have quote unquote quoted and unquoted him, and then you put your interpretation. So, so this is not amount to violation of copyright at all, because that's how we write articles. That's how we write research article basically. So when you're talking about research articles, so you are supposed to do this quote unquote, and you need to mention the name of the author, need to mention the year of publishing, which is very very important. And someone of you mentioned about the report of WHO and report of UNICEF. I have told you to mention the year when it is published, because it is related to timeliness and currency of the event. So when you are talking about the timeliness, so when it actually happened. So if you have read the report 10 years back and you are trying to relate to like a story or an incident happened today, then it might not be that relevant. So the way you have connected this story will not be relevant to the readers. So if you try to relate past with the present, then also mention that this report of World Health Organization published in that year, published in 2010, says so. And now, after 10 years, we have got these very statistics. So like that way, you can write a story. So you say in new media, we have a concept called computer assisted reporting. Computer is used to assist the reporting. And computer assisted reporting will help you to have the first retrieval of informations, so you will have much more accuracy. So here you can also use that statistical tools like SPSS. You might have heard of that tool. SPSS is statistical packages for social sciences, SPSS. And you have SAS basically this is statistical analytical system. So these are some of the database software which are being used by the new media writers in order to analyze the trend of the story, and then also arrive at a conclusion. So that is a part of computer assisted reporting. So computer assisted reporting is survey oriented. So you are supposed to put anecdote, you are supposed to put lot of annotations from other report, you are supposed to link also. So when you're talking about even the hyper regional reporting in citizen journalism, so here you actually try to connect 2 3 reporting at a time. So and that is the advantage of new media, that so you can connect the public record, but earlier traditional journalism has contributed to public record. And here in new media, you will create a connection and create a linkage among the public record which are existed. So records are available, so you simply connect it. So connect it through hyperlink, but don't make it your own. So you need to give a reference point there. So you simply mention in the references that these are the links from where you have um, uh, taken some clue, or you these are the references from where you have taken the text. So that you need to mention. It's quite important. Year wise you mention in the story. And if you have paraphrase it, now in new media also most of the time we rewrite the story, we paraphrase it. We don't even think about quoting or unquoting word by word. But let me tell you, it has got a different way of treatment, because most of the time in historical write-up also, like we go for investigating stuff. So and we actually don't go to the field, but whatever secondary informations are available, we take those information, read that informations, and we rewrite and paraphrase it. That also we do. Okay, so that is also another another aspect of computer assisted reporting, where you paraphrase this information. So you rewrite this information which is available and you interpret it in your own way. So you also add your own personal lens. So you add your personal experience, you add your personal knowledge, and then you interpret it. So computer assisted reporting is also opinionated. And also there are some factors which actually save that computer assisted reporting. Let me tell you. One is rendezvous spot, means that virtual community. So where you have that source interaction, more and more source interactions, which you won't get to see in a traditional journalism. So you see that source interaction in the sense that earlier what happened, so journalists always look for press conferences where they would meet similar journalists. They can share their opinions, they can share their even their experience, And most of the time in a formal and informal setup, whenever a journalist meet another journalist or another counterpart, definitely he or she will get benefited, And source interaction has a prominence in writing a story. So when we are talking about the sources are similar across traditional and mainstream media and even citizen journalism and grassroots journalism, right? So when you're talking about the sources are like you have that academicians, they are also sources. You have that government network, that is one sources, right? Universities, libraries, they usually have library that carry that archives. That court is another important source. Journalists usually dip in and out in the court to find this report, right? You have also sources like press release. Well-written press release is very important source. So these sources are similar across traditional as well as citizen journalism. Then you see this celebrities are also important source. Then army personnel are important source. Hospitals are important source, and also news agencies. News agencies are like these are foothills for journalism. Journalist. So you can get many news from news agencies, PTI, then AP, Associated Press, Unit Trust of India, then also Press Trust of India. They'll provide you many more news. So these sources are similar, but in online also, so you see source interaction can be possible through linking. So you can link one source to other source, and that is advantage of hyperlinking and interactivity. So why we are talking about the advantage of new media, and at times it has also um, uh, come with that credibility questions. So credibility check is often heightened in new media. So when you develop a story, people will ask whether it is credible enough or not. So any electronic journalism piece, mainstream media will look at this electronic journalistic piece as something which is not authentic, and that is a bad name most of the journalists got. We are talking about blog, right? So you see, blog is something which is the product of gift economy, and you also have you say that journalism, which is a product of market economy, right? So there are differences between blog and even you see even a journalistic piece, but here source interaction is important, which you can create in new media by annotating, by referencing, giving the reference of this course, and at times you can hyperlink also. So sometimes what you can do, you can develop 2-3 stories, and you can have a running story. There is a story called running story. You can write 600 words a story. You collect informations. You have found that you have generated more informations. Now when you come to write the story, so you have already crossed 600, 700 words, 1000 words. Now you see that you have information for 2 stories. So you can have a follow-up story, so running story, one after another. So, and you can have a connecting link also between these 2 stories. So that can also be, you see, one aspect of writing. But when you're talking about plagiarism, let me tell you that it is very, very important for journalists to adhere to certain norms, that you won't manipulate the content of the photograph. If you click a photograph also, you don't change the color of the photograph. You don't crop the photograph. Okay, because most of the time you also publish that photography grip and green. What does that mean? Photography grip and green means that there are photographs when politicians are shown cutting the ribbon. There are also photographs when you see a prominent person are giving away the prizes, distributing the prizes. These are like photography grip and green, which is already there in press, in even print, right? So it is important for journalists, and it is also suggested to the journalists not to crop the photographs and not to manipulate any kind of photographs. So in online, it is easier now to collect photographs for number of sites. Now it is very, very important to give the source credit to the photo, from where you have collected the photograph, from where you have taken the photographs. If it is your original uh, creation, you have taken the photographs, you have clicked at photographs, then it is fine enough. You also watermark it. Now watermark is also another editorial guideline for new media journalists. So whenever you write something, watermark it, that this is your copyrighted material. You take a photograph, watermark it, this is your copyrighted material. Now also another ethical guideline is sous-leader reporting. When you're talking about sous-leader reporting, let me tell you that most of the time new media journalists, they take information from secondary sources, right? So it is easily available. The sources are easily available. Secondary sources are easily available. Like report is easily available. You see that. Other encyclopedias are available. So they take information from the secondary sources. But taking information from secondary sources cannot be the substitute of on-field reporting or face-to-face interview. So you see, that is the difference between traditional journalism and new media journalist or citizen journalist at times. Citizen journalism, journalists work on the field, but e-journalist, most of the time e-journalist, for e-journalist, it is quite easier to even take information from secondary sources. But that should not be a substitute for direct observation. That should not be a substitute for, you see, field investigation. But you see, at home also, with the help of computer, with the assistance of the computer, you can actually write a wonderful piece, I must say, and that is what is computer assisted reporting. So you, in computer assisted reporting, as I have already told you, there are 4R. One is rendezvous, that is source interaction. Rendezvous plot, and second one is reference. So each time you write something, you need to give a reference. And third is reporting, the way you will report, you present it. And also fourth is research, how much research you have carried out in order to write the story. So this 4R will define the computer assisted reporting. And you should also know regarding the history of computer assisted reporting, as we have Philip Mayer, that actually there is a history that came in 1967. He first used that computer assisted reporting. He used computer to analyze the Detroit crisis, crisis between American and African in US, and where he found that not only the college going students participated in the event of crisis, but also school dropout also equally became the participant of this event. So for which he also won Pulitzer Prize, So that was the origin of computer assisted reporting. So he used that spreadsheet, he used Excel sheet, spreadsheet, Word, Microsoft Word, then also he used that it is called statistical packages to analyze the survey. So that you can do. So whenever you write a story, so this is the beginning, and I also haven't taken many new media classes. Whatever stories you have come up with, I must say that you have put a lot of effort. All of you have wonderful effort and come up with a very good write-up. So this could be published also. So you can have a blog, you can maintain that blog and publish in an individual blog, or anybody can take the initiative to create a blog and publish all the story at a time. So or else I will do that. But you can also try to create a blog on your own. Any difficulty you encounter, inform me immediately. Okay? Okay then. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll finish today. Okay, any question, Misal? Okay, so tomorrow we will again. I'll have a class with you, so I'll tell you the time. Okay, then I'll disperse today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.